All right. So here's your bottom line up front for Fire Away, episode 54. There I was, posting on Instagram when out of the blue I get a message asking if I'd post something that was understandable enough to teach young people about what the Catholic Church teaches regarding the LGBTQ movement, especially for the young people in Sweden. I thought to myself, the topic is relatively simple, but not when you add in a specific demographic in a specific culture. And so that's why we'll try and have a conversation about it instead with people from Sweden.
Welcome. I'm Sebastian Mahfood, and you're listening to WCAT Radio, the on-air wing of En Route Books and Media, bringing you the dulcet sounds of Catholic wisdom.
What is your profession? Saddle up. Lock and load.
Domine Patri et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. You're listening to Fire Away with Carlos Bersabe, brought to you by Catholic Ammo, En Route Books and Media, and WCAT Radio, where we're locked, loaded, and ready for battle with today's hot topics. Howdy, everybody. This is your host, Carlos Bersabe. You're listening to episode 54 of Fire Away. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe via iTunes or whatever platform you are using and give us a great rating. It is truly appreciated and helps a lot. So let's do a quick recap. On last week's episode, we had Daniel Vu from Ad Tratcat Men, where we talked about the crisis of true Catholic masculinity and what can be done about it. So if you missed it, give it a listen after this episode, but do it after, because today we're going to cut straight to the heart of certainly one aspect of the human condition and talk about what it means to make oneself a true gift to another. But we'll do it in the context of the LGBTQ movement in Sweden. And thankfully, I have Luisa and Marisa to help me out. But before we go any further, let's bow our heads in an opening prayer. And would either of you ladies do me the honors of doing the opening prayer?
No, I would rather you do that.
All right.
But I feel that would be better. Or I could say a prayer in Swedish if you want.
That'd be great. Sure.
All right, I will do that then. Fader vår som är i himmelen, helgat vare ditt namn. Tillkommer ditt rike. Sker din vilja så som i himmelen, så och på jorden. Vårt dagliga bröd giv oss idag och förlåt oss våra skulder så som och vi förlåta dem oss skyldiga är. Och inled oss icke i frestelse utan fräls oss ifrån ondo. Till riket är ditt och makten och härligheten i evighet. Amen. Nombre del Padre, el Hijo y el Espíritu Santo. Amen.
Amen. So that was both Swedish and Spanish, I think, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. That is probably one of the coolest ways I've started this show. Well, welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you so much. Gracias.
Super excited to have you guys on. See, that's the choir of angels you guys hear in the background. Whoa. Cheering for everybody.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about having you guys on because I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot of experience with the country of Sweden, and I did not know that there was a cultural movement that was happening there. I read about Poland recently, but I didn't.
Yes.
But I haven't much read about Sweden, so this is going to be an interesting show. But before we begin, I'm going to let you two ladies introduce yourselves to our listening audience in however you see fit. So if you could please tell us a little bit about yourselves.
No, okay. Well, hello, I'm Luisa, and I am half Swedish, half Mexican. And, well, I consider myself to be a little bit more Mexican because I was born and grew up in Mexico. And I came to Sweden in later years, although I've been in Sweden every other year for the summers because my father was Swedish and my mother was Mexican. I love both countries dearly, and I see the difference of both countries. And well, for now, I converted a year ago to Catholicism. My mother was Catholic, my dad was Protestant, but I think my heart has always been with God, and God has been with me all the time. And thank God I did convert last year. And this has made me also see things with a different view, because Sweden is a very secular country. And I try to listen to the Holy Spirit as much as I can and follow what the Holy Spirit is guiding me. So that's me.
Well, thank you for that, Luisa. And Marisa?
Yeah, hello. This is Marisa Reyes. I'm 100% Paraguayan. Paraguay is a really small country right in the heart of South America. But I've been working here in the cultural department for 8 months. So Sweden has been a discovery for me too, like you probably, Carlos. And I'm working, as I told you, in the cultural environment here in Sweden. But back in my country, I was very involved with the Catholic Church and pro-life movement, and I was 5 years in São Paulo, Brazil. I used to belong to a Catholic community that works with mass media. And when I went back to my country in Paraguay, I tried to continue with this work, especially with young people. And we were guiding a movement, so to speak, which is called the NT, like not today. Today I will not, I will try not to sin just for a day, 24 hours. You know, like people that are addicted to alcohol, they try to fight against it one day at a time, just 24 hours. So our work was to help young people to say no to sin just for 24 hours, and even less than that, because if you sleep for 8 hours, then you have only just like, I'm horrible for maths, but 17 hours, right? Something like that. I think exactly. 18 maybe. I don't know. Well, later I will count. I try not to sin, you know, because it's possible if we say just today, because usually after a retreat you go like, I will never commit a sin anymore, I want to become a saint. So we try to live one day at a time. Yes, today is the first day of the rest of our lives, but it might as well be our last. So let's do our best and try to follow God's will to be the very best we can with God's grace. So hopefully with Luisa, we're going to try to start that here in Sweden too.
Yes. Man, that is some wonderful news to hear.
Yes.
And speaking of that, now is my chance to ask you guys, for the purposes of our situation report, what is the situation there in Sweden?
The situation here in Sweden is that, from what I have seen, is that I have slowly but surely seen that the LGBT what's it called? Movement. Yeah, it's a movement, has been entering in many areas, and I have heard about different friends that belong to the Catholic Church in their jobs about different things that they have noticed, and it's becoming very in a situation that worries me very much and worries many of my friends, Catholic friends. And so in the big picture, I mean, we didn't notice this before, but it has come creeping up to us. I think I can't really say how many years, but it's probably been about 5-6 years, because in the name, this movement uses the name of love. It's like the issue is love. And but the thing, that's what they talk about. It's love to one another, and it's love and acceptance and so on. But it's like since I became Catholic, it's like it's hit me very hard, and it's also become very evident that it's a movement that's taking over in so many ways. For example, in the school situation, that one of my friends who has a little daughter who's 4 years old, she came home one day and she said that she and her little friend, who was a boy, had been, they were playing the opposite roles. She was playing a boy and he was playing a girl. And her mother asked her, in what situation? She asked her, why did you do that? Oh, because you can be both.
Oh my
And the mother said, like, excuse me, who said that? And I'm not her, so I don't know if I should tell the story because I don't know the details. But from what I understand is that that's something that they've been talking about in school. And she's just 4 in school. It's like primary then. She's just 4 years old. And they were playing that the boy was pregnant, and it was very, very strange. So the mother tried to straighten up this and saying, this is not the way. It's not correct. It's not right. But the school is taking a lot of this ideology is coming into the school, and it's something that I've noticed also in my daughter's school, where she's going in the gymnasium, which is high school here, and you see everywhere the flag. That's supposed to be actually, it's a Catholic from the beginning. It's from the Bible. This flag, it's supposed to have 7 colors, but the flag here, obviously, and everywhere in the world, the LGBT flag is 6 colors, and you see that everywhere. And then I noticed when I talk to my own children about this, they think I'm being discriminatory towards other people, and man. I'm trying to explain to them, I have nothing against other people at all. On the contrary, although it is not correct to brainwash others. So I'm working on this, as you hear. It's not something that I know exactly what to say. But it's been quite confusing. So that's how. So I've seen it, and also now when it's what I thought about why I messaged you is because I'm a bit desperate as a mother, and I'm divorced since my children were 1.5 years and 3 years old. They were very young, and it's been a very tough journey, and. I haven't gotten any support from the government here, and that's also, I think, a lot typical because this is that kind of a country where people don't have the same values as they would, for example, in Mexico or even the United States. So I have not gotten a lot of help. So I've studied studied to occupational therapist, and worked at the same time to be able to manage my studies and my economy. And then I became an occupational therapist, and I've been working very, very much. And then finally I did my master's degree a year ago to get a better position and to get better economy. So because the money is not enough, and so I noticed this in many levels. How it's very double. You talk about the equality of everybody, but at the same time, they don't help you anyway. As a single mother or anything like that. So I'm working to see how I could help, and also Marisa and I have talked about this, how we could talk about and help youth because they are crying for help, because many young people are very lost. And I can tell you an example of what happened. My daughter, she got this diagnosis of her, and she was sick with her intestines, and we had to go to the hospital, and she got a diagnosis that had to be taken care of. And it was very professional in the hospital, but the problem was that when we arrived, they said, okay, she's going to have to come here every week to check her blood values, etc. And then she can come here every month. And here she will always have this clinic as her home clinic. And if she gets really ill, she can even stay here for a week or two. And we can even give her classes if she misses classes. So they took this very seriously, which was good. But the thing is that the clinic also had a gynecologist for women, for the young women, and I can tell you, I was very shocked because when we came in there, they had like how do you say una cosita, like a box where they had condoms in there. And it was like, if it was like, like when you come into reception, you have like candies or pencils or something. No, they had condoms there. Okay. For the young. And this was a department for the young people under 18 years old. And the woman there, she'd say, have one. And I'm saying, why are you giving this to my daughter? I mean, and they tried to tell my daughter to go to the gynecologist without me. And they're trying to get the parent outside and not being involved. And actually, the doctor didn't let me go in to talk at the same time with my daughter. And I said, well, why not? Because I want to talk to her alone. And I said, but we don't do this here. So I was being cut off, and I unfortunately I questioned myself for not saying, well, she's not going in there without me. But it's like you're in a role as a patient and as a mother, and you think, it's very strange.
Yeah.
But I told my daughter afterwards, you're not going in there again without me. I'm not going to let them do that. And this talk about, here in Sweden, they talk about, you should try sex. It's good to try, and you have to try many so you know that it's good. And how do you know that's the right partner if you haven't tried? And I tell my children, it's not a car that you're supposed to try and drive around with. It's not a car. This is a human being, and it's the same for men. So this is my perspective in our little world, in our little family world, and it's very tough because friends and that are not Catholic and other people that are very secular, they believe the opposite, and so they don't understand what I'm talking about. So actually, some friends have just left me because they think I'm crazy, and yeah. And that's okay, I am not going to push anything towards them, but I'm gonna say what is right and what's not right, and they're confused, these young people today here, because of the society, what they're teaching them. So this is part of the LGBT movement, because it's also like you're supposed to accept everything and everybody, and not saying what's right and what's wrong, because then you're in deep water. So, but otherwise, maybe Marisa can say your experience of what you see out in the city when you have sorry, that's I talk a lot now. So
no. So Marisa, what are the things that you see there?
Well, the experience I've had in a positive way is that it's a very respectful and peaceful country. But in the name of respect, what could happen? We are open to everything, and we accept everything. We just have to respect each other. If it makes you happy, it's okay. And I think it's pretty much the same situation that we live in every country. Only here, because the church, unfortunately, is so weak. Unfortunately, other things have taken over. What I see, what I've experienced is the Swedish people, the Swedish country is open to everything. I mean, to experience everything. And because the seed that the enemy of God has thrown is the seed of death culture, everything that goes against the natural order has grown here because they're so open and they're so kind, so respectful. So if we were stronger, I can tell that the situation would have been different. Maybe. This is like watching from a foreigner that is living right now here in Sweden. And because they're so respectful, what I have experienced is that they want to hear the truth. And we know that Jesus is the truth, the way, the life. And because they are so respectful, they can hear you with their ears open, maybe not their minds, because if they open their mind, they will understand everything we tell them, even in scientific ways. If we're trying to explain the existence of God, we have the 5 ways of Saint Thomas Aquinas, right? So we can explain them, and they will understand it. But the thing is, they should have their hearts open too. But when they perceive that there is a commitment behind faith, that is where they want to run away because they're so free-spirited,
Yeah.
But as I told you, I think it's like pretty much the situation of the whole world. Only here, it's a small country. It's like 10 million, right?
Yes, max.
So the evil here has been very strong because they're so kind and because they're so open. And that is where we should take advantage. When I walk in the streets and I see the rainbow flag, Carlos, just about everywhere.
Yes.
In every building, even if it's a minister of foreign affairs, for example, the LGBTQXYFZ flag is flying there, everywhere. Banks, schools, shopping, everywhere.
The buses have the flags.
All
like
the buses.
During the Pride Week. Mm-hmm.
Children's hanging the beautiful rainbow flag in their hands
with 6 colors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. But they are crying for something else. They want to do what's right. They want to do what's good. You see families supporting this gay pride festival. But I have the sense, looking from outside, I have the sense that they are looking for something else. So in the name of respect, acceptance, they think that that will bring maybe the world peace, all of us united, accepting everyone. That is why they join to these movements. Not because they are against life. Some of them, yes, of course, some of them, and we know who are running these things, and I'm not afraid to say the UN is behind all of this, financially supporting this, the left too, in the political sense, right? Now it's a cultural thing. That is why they're so powerful. But families are driven by this because of the wrong reasons. I mean, because of the right reasons, but in the wrong way. The right reasons. We want to support the truth. We want to follow what's right. And we want a peaceful world. And in order to achieve a peaceful world, we need to respect one another. So we have to support this. And then something else, we have to support that. Yes, we are opening our country to refugees. We're opening our country to people who feel different and who love differently, between quotation marks, right? So between inverted commas. So that is what I've experienced, because I live in an apart hotel, and whenever I can, I talk to the receptionists here. They're very kind and super young, and they want to listen, Sometimes when it's their birthday, I write their names in a piece of paper, and the date of their birthday, and I bring holy water and oil, and I say, "Can I say a little pray for you? Say a little pray for you." And they go like, "Yes, please do it." And some of them are even Christians. Some of them do not know what they are, but they want to, and they immediately close their eyes, bow their heads, open their hands. It's like they were in church all their lives. But it's the natural, and that is the proof of the natural movement of their soul that are looking for what's right and what's good. I pray for them. And then they go again like, "Why can't you pray for me again?"
Aww.
Oh.
That's so sweet.
And that's what I've experienced. Yeah.
Yes.
They are open, and the cardinal here, Monsignor Anders.
Yes, we got a cardinal recently.
He's a cardinal here in Stockholm.
Mm-hmm.
We had a mass for Latins here, and because of last year in December, because he wanted to do so. And he said, "We need the tenderness of you from America," he said, from the whole continent, North, Central, and South America.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We need your tenderness. You won't see Swedish beggars in the street because this is a very rich country, but you will see people begging for love and truth in so many different ways. So I'm asking you, and he said it like 3 or 4 times during his 10-minute sermon, please show us your tenderness and your kindness and your love. Share with us your tenderness, your love, your kindness. And then again, share with us your tenderness, your love, and your kindness.
Because the Swedish people need it.
Yeah, because we need it, he said.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as I was listening to the words that you both were saying, I took out, I tried to simplify it into, 4 words.
Yeah.
Tolerance, and that was common to both tolerance, acceptance, respect, and kindness. But what was very interesting is that in that tolerance and acceptance aspect, it doesn't seem like the Catholic faith, the Christian faith, is necessarily very well tolerated or accepted. Is that right?
That's right.
So
exactly.
That's a one aspect that always confuses me is that somehow, when I say confuses me, it it's not that, logically I get what they're trying to do because they think that they're right. However, in that aspect of preaching tolerance and acceptance, somehow, some way, some lifestyles won't be tolerated or accepted. And the other aspect is respect and kindness. Now, in terms of that, it seems like while they won't accept or really even tolerate the Catholic point of view, is it true that they will at least let you express it, or are you going to get sent somewhere to be re-educated? What does it mean when you were able to approach someone and say, "Let me pray for you"? Would you be allowed to have dialogue with that person regarding what true love and true human sexuality means by teaching them church teaching, or how would that dialogue work?
Well, what I've experienced, Carlos, this is Marisa, is that they're open, but we Catholics haven't been bold enough here, and it's like too much pressure, and let's just stay here. We are not harming anyone. We're doing what's right. It's okay. Some of them will look at you as intolerant or ignorant, right? But they will listen to you because they're so respectful. They won't have a discussion. What I admire here is that in South America, for example, in countries like Argentina, feminism has become a very violent movement. and they destroy public buildings. They threaten to burn churches. They get naked in the streets.
Oh, geez.
They paint their breasts. Once they were surrounding a Catholic cathedral in South Argentina, and all the faithful ones came out of the church and asked the women to stay inside, and they were making like a human chain trying to prevent them from coming into the church, into the temple. And they were barely dressed, they were with their breasts out, yelling bad words, nasty words at men, painting them, spitting over them. It's a very violent movement. Whereas here, it's a very respectful movement, and you can get to talk to them. We just haven't been taking Jesus. I don't know if I will make myself clear here, but taking Jesus out of the church. In this sense, I do agree with Pope Francis that says that we should be going out. He was saying that the church needs to go to them, and it was Jesus who commanded us to go and preach the gospel. And I think that here it's like, let us stay here, let them come, That is what I've experienced.
Yes.
I go to church, and the sermons are still very politically correct. And let us just stay here and try to say things softly, not to harm anyone, because since we're not so many, we don't want to lose anyone. And if we're open, then we could maybe receive more people in church. And I'm not talking about, moralism here or pointing the finger at anyone, but we need to I think that we need to talk the actual truth and what's right and what's wrong. If we don't do that in church, where are we going to do it? We need to provide Catholics with the spiritual and the knowledge in order to keep their faith. Not to judgment is good. A moral judgment, it is necessary. We need to say what's right and what's wrong. Well, we cannot condemn, of course, but
Right.
we need to say what's right and what's wrong. And when you have had the experience of the love of God, it's so difficult to keep it. It's impossible. This is a very bad example, a very, very shallow example. But if you cannot contain a burp, for example, after you have eaten, how can you contain God's love if you're so full of it in your heart? So whatever you do, whatever you talk, it's all washed by, I don't know if that's the word, but everything is full of God. Yes, affected. So when you talk to them, and like Luisa was saying, you ask the Holy Spirit, then it's amazing how the word has its power over you, because Jesus says that you don't have to worry about what you're going to say. You just have to open your mouth and the Holy Spirit is going to talk. Right. The other day, for example, I was talking to one of these guys here whose father is a Muslim and whose mother is a Swedish person.
A guy who works in the reception.
Yes, I'm saying here. We're at the hotel right now. And we were talking about acceptance, and he was trying to convince me that I should be open to other sexual experiences,
What?
Because I'm not open. Yeah, like, why don't you, maybe if a woman approaches you, you should just stay open. Maybe you will experience something different if you are open, but you shouldn't be closed. You have to reach the balance. And I was like, come, Holy Spirit, because I cannot attack his idea. I need to share Jesus with him, with Anastasia, So I told him, well, you're talking to me about balance, right? And he said, yes. Okay. If that lady, there was LGBTXFY leader here in the hotel. There was this lesbian leader here at the hotel, and she was standing a few steps away from me, but she couldn't listen to us, right? And I said to him, if that lady comes to me, she is a yin and I'm a yin. Since you believe in the yin-yang, that is the balance, she is a yin, I am a yin. You are a yang, I am a yin. You and me, we are balanced. But her and me, we're both women. We're both yin, so there is no balance there at all. So he was like, okay, so what would you suggest? And there you can talk about anthropology, biology, and then faith. And they would listen to you, Carlos. They would super openly listen to you. But we need to study, We need to know the word.
Exactly.
We need to know some other things. We cannot go in the name of the Father and start praying for them. They will feel, I don't know, they will reject faith.
Exactly.
There are ways and ways to approach. It's different when you approach a Catholic that is for it. You can talk to him straight away from the Catholic Church. From the Catholicism. Catecismo de la Iglesia.
Oh, the Catholicism.
Catholicism of the Catholic
What's it called?
Church.
The book?
The catechism?
Catechism.
Okay.
Right.
You can go straight forward, right? You can talk to them in our language without a dictionary. If you're talking to a Muslim, or an atheist or an agnostic, it's different. And I think that is basically in the whole world. But here, they're very respectful. We just need to be clever enough in order to introduce Jesus in a logical way, because everything passes through their logics here. This is a very intelligent country. They read a lot, they see a lot. So we have to take advantage of that, but have all the right weapons.
So I think a good place to start on that one actually is, since they're willing to hear you out, it seems like it's, our fellow Catholics who are not willing to speak. One of the things that I just me, my opinion, talking to my fellow Catholics there in Sweden, respect and kindness doesn't have to go away just because you disagree with someone. That's one of the things that I think is lost in the modern world, is that disagreement doesn't necessitate hate. I disagree with a lot of people in this world, but I would die for them if called upon. That's one of the things I'm in the military, and if I'm ever anywhere, if it's another United States person right beside me, they probably aren't Catholic. Catholicism in the United States is not the majority, and so they probably aren't Catholic. And but I would throw myself in front of a bullet for that person. That with knowing that I disagree with that person. So love doesn't have to be, agreement on, hey, you do what you want to do. It's for me, love is let me be Christ to you. Just like you were saying, bring Christ out from the confines of a physical structure of the church. We are sent at the end of every Mass, and we are sent for a specific reason to bring Christ to others. So for my fellow Catholics there in Sweden, just like you heard, know your faith, get to know your faith, and know that the tenderness and the love and the kindness doesn't have to go away just because you disagree with someone. As was described earlier in Argentina, you don't have to be, violent when it comes to the confrontation. You don't have to be that. You can be tender and loving and kind, especially if you know the faith. If you know the faith, then you can explain to that person, that true gift of self. That's one of the things. Have you guys heard what St. Pope John Paul II said regarding the law of the gift?
No, I don't think so.
No,
So this is one of my favorite, favorite stories and favorite stories to tell, because it's not like a story like a legend, but if you go all the way back, so, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and they were talking to him about marriage, and he invites them by saying, in the beginning it was not so, because he's talking about the permanence of marriage, which even today we seem, as a society, as a culture, as the world, it's very tough because life is tough. But he's asked them to go all the way back, and he explains to them how the world was created, how humanity was created. And he talks about man and woman, he created them. But he talks about it from the aspect of complementarity. Like earlier you were saying yin and yang, that difference, that complementarity is necessary, because you can make yourself a gift to another person. But that gift is very specific. It isn't, make yourself a gift for sexual pleasure alone. It's not make yourself a gift to be used, because in this case, just like the church teaches, when it comes to a sacrament, when it comes to mysterion, when it comes to covenant, what ends up happening is that we are exchanging persons. It's saying, I give you me and you give me you, rather than saying, I will give you some form of payment or goods and services, and in exchange you give me whatever. It's not a contractual agreement. It becomes a covenantal relationship where we can enter into a true family relationship. So that tenderness, that love, and that kindness doesn't have to go away just because you disagree with someone. And that has to be known from the very beginning, is that disagreement, like, if you're a Catholic, you're naturally going to disagree with every non-Catholic out there when it comes to the faith. But that does not mean that you tell them that it's okay. You tell them that life is tough. You tell them that this is where you are. You tell them that you'll pray for them, and you tell them the truth as you can offer it to them when they talk about it on a specific subject. If an atheist asks you, how can you believe that God exists? Don't you see all the evil around you? Don't you see all the suffering?
Exactly.
Then you respond with, something meaningful in your life, how you can find meaning in suffering. The cross teaches you how to suffer, not that suffering is bad, but teaches you how to suffer in a redemptive manner. So, the situation there in Sweden, it seems to be very rich with potential.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes, it does.
I look at this country, and it's like a little kid looking at a brownie cake, I want to eat it all.
Exactly.
I'm so happy of this.
Because this country has also become very, it's like Marisa says, extremely, you're right on spot when you're explaining these things, because it's like yoga became very popular here, and it has become, it's like more and more, and all of a sudden, like, everybody's doing yoga, and if you don't do yoga, it's something wrong with you almost.
For peace.
And meditation, mindfulness meditation, and these kind of things. I actually went that way myself, and it was a very bad road to take. But I was also hungry for God. But I got disappointed, because when I got a divorce, I couldn't understand, and I actually thought it was I almost felt fake talking to God, because I felt that I got a divorce. You shouldn't get a divorce. But, and it was not my choice. I didn't want to get a divorce. But what I'm saying is that many people are like hungry, like you say, the chocolate cake. And they are like, if they do yoga, they don't do it more or less good. They do it 100% or 110% good. You know what I mean? They learn everything, and they're like experts at it. And actually, some people, like when I converted, it was really hard for me to convert. Talking about what you were saying in the beginning, Marisa, it's like people are not, or you were saying also, Carlos, that we need to evangelize more. And for me, for some reason, it was actually when I was studying about meditation and how to breathe through your nose, and it was like very complicated, and I was trying to learn this, and all of a sudden it's like a Sanskrit coming to me in the reading, and I was thinking, it was like the Holy Spirit came to me. It's like, leave this, stop it, it was very strong. And all of a sudden I started looking up Catholic Church in Sweden. I'm like, what am I doing? It's like my whole picture just started, and I cannot explain. It was the Holy Spirit. And it ended up that I started researching about our Catholic Church here, and I was trying to get into the Catholic Church, but doors were closed for me. I had to fight to get into the church, to be honest. And yeah, it was extremely strange. But finally, I got hold of a person because I saw that was like the Spanish mission, or the Spanish speaking mission of the Catholic Church here in Sweden. So I called them, but they didn't respond. And then I finally called another. I tried here and there everywhere, and then finally there was this man who told me, you can come in and talk to me. So, and he was a diacon. How do you say that in English? Deacon. And he told me, well, you're Mexican, Swedish. Why don't you start with both at the same time? So I went double. I went both in the catechism of Swedish and in Spanish-speaking catechism. So the Swedish catechism here in Sweden is 2 years. And the Spanish is 1 year. So after 1 year, I confirmed last year, but I still kept on going the second year for the Swedish catechism. So then I got everything, and it was like it was like a ketchup bottle. Okay, you open the bottle, you can't get anything out, but when it comes out at the same time. So it was so rich, and the Swedish catechism was beautiful. And I can say that there are many, it's been like 30 people that and the deacon said it's just increasing. More and more Swedes are converting, even though it's very little, but still it's more and more. And that's incredible. That's a sign that something's happening. It's moving people's hearts. They're awake, and that's fantastic. But another thing that I wanted to just mention, which I think could be interesting for other people to know, is also that when I was in the hospital, for some reason, I've been the past years I've been prone to many accidents, and I broke my arm, and I had a concussion, a lot of things. And I was in the hospital, and I asked for a Bible, and they looked at me like if I was like crazy, like, we don't have any Bibles here, we're not going to have any. And it was like I was talking about something that was really wicked. And I said, but, it would be nice, actually. And then at the hospital, I actually met a friend of mine who was also sick. It was like, wow, what are you doing here? And she's like, what are you doing here? And she was like, she was very sad. I think she had a depression. And I said, hey, I'm going to ask for a Bible, and we could read together. And then I asked them. And that's when they said, no, we don't have a Bible. What's that? And then I said, well, I have some Bible verses. I'm gonna go pray with my friend. She's like, no, you can't do that here inside of the hospital. Yep. And I said, excuse me, I am not allowed to pray with my friend? No, that's not possible. You could give her the prayers, but you cannot sit here and pray. And I was like, this is really weird. But I gave her I bought a little, like some prayer little book, and I gave it to her because I left the hospital earlier than her, and she was like, thank you so much. This is going to help me. And I said, never lose faith. Continue to pray. Use this book and continue. And so that was one thing. And also, as I was working as occupational therapist in the hospital, this was before I converted. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And we were working with patients that were very bad off. They had all kinds of anxieties. It was pain. Patients with long-term pain, and a lot of them might have PTSD. You know what that is? Post-traumatic stress syndrome. Yeah, you know what that is because you work in the military. So some of them had that, and a lot of them quite deep problems. And I remember when we worked with the patients, we worked a lot in teams, and we had a doctor. As me and my profession, occupational therapist, we had physiotherapists and psychologists and a couple of others as well, nurses. And then I remember we were talking, like we had like these team discussions, because we had to discuss about the patients, how we could help them and so on. And I remember when patients would say that they believed in God, behind closed doors, my team, they would laugh. It was like if they believed in Santa Claus.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
It was like, they believe in God. And it took me by surprise, even though I wasn't Catholic, but I have always, since I was very little, I believed in God. God has helped me through many difficult things. I taught myself to pray the Father, our Father, the prayer. I taught myself that because I just needed that when I was like 7 years old. I taught myself how to pray. And then they are talking like that about patients that believe in God. And I was thinking, and it's very awkward because you when you are with these kind of people, you get affected. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to work in that business anymore because it's a very strange business. And another thing, Carlos, is that right now, my old colleagues that work in the business, in the health industry, like in the hospitals and so on, they are forced to go to specific courses to learn how to treat and be with LGBT patients. And they have even little flags in the hospitals to show, look, we're LGBT, whatever, friendly. And they force you to get this. And it's sort of like you have to check on having this course. And also they force the meditation. I was forced to practice meditation, and it's Buddhist. And I liked it because I liked that kind of treatment very much because I didn't know about the Catholic faith. So I was sitting practicing this with the patients, and almost like the patients were forced to practice the meditation too. So actually, I feel terrible because of what I did, but I didn't know what I was doing. But it's a bad guy there, taking in control over the system. So it's many areas.
Man, I tell you what, and that's all the more reason for action, for very deliberate thought, for very deliberate prayer and searching. But believe it or not, we've actually come to the point in the show where it's now time for saved rounds and parting shots. So if there was one thing that you wanted our audience to take away from our conversation, we'll start with you, Luisa, and then Marisa. What would that one thing be?
That would be that no matter how far or how much you know about your faith, to evangelize in one way or another. Because me, as a recent convert, I don't feel sometimes that I have the words and that I haven't learned enough. But even though I feel that, I still have to evangelize in one way or another, and no matter where in the world I am. And I think every one of us, everyone that's listening, you out there, in whatever way, in your own genuine way, you can evangelize and do that. So that's my last words.
Wonderful. And Marisa?
Carlos, I'm sorry. I will have to ask you to ask me again the question. I could understand for what Luisa said, but I didn't hear very well.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
If there was one thing and just one thing that you wanted our listening audience to take away from this show, what would it be?
Oh, yes. An experience of the love of God. To try and have that experience of the love of God. I was thinking that when you said that we are a gift to the others, right? And in order for us to give ourselves to others, we need to know who we are. And we only can know who we are if we see ourselves the way God sees us. That is through love, the true love, the real love that is God. I can only know myself, my worth in God. And if I'm attached or sticked or grounded in God, I'm free in the world. And the world will not infect me with its false truths, And so try to have an experience of the love of God. Get to church and try to read the word. Find yourself a refuge in the sacraments. Confess. Start all over again. And try to have this experience. And be open to the love of God. Because when we experience this love of God, we can do whatever we want, because whatever we want will be God.
God's will.
And we will do God's will, and that will set us free in a world that is constantly trying to make us slaves. Only in God we can find freedom, truth, abundant life, and happiness, even if we are suffering. Because like you said before, we will learn that suffering we will always have. But when we suffer with Christ, then we have a meaning, and then we find a meaning in this world. So, one single sentence, try like crazy, and like crazy, and above anything in this world, try to have an experience of the love of God. That's all. That's the best experience in the world.
Amen.
Right on. Thank you for those were some wonderful saved rounds and parting shots. And as you hear in the background, this is our musical cue letting us know that we're out of time for this week's episode of Fire Away, brought to you by Catholic Ammo. Many thanks to all who are listening, and special thanks to our guests, Luisa and Marisa. Thank you both so much for your time there in Sweden. I hope you'll join us again.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Million thanks. God bless you, Carlos, and everything that you do. We couldn't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you. And so for a quick recap of episode 54, we discussed the situation in Sweden regarding the LGBTQ movement. We talked about what it means to love and how we can show true love in our modern world. And we talked about the need to learn our faith and to share our faith and to be our faith. But before we finish, let us bow our heads in a closing prayer. And if you guys wouldn't mind again, that'd be great if there was another Swedish or maybe even Spanish prayer.
Yes, would you want to Spanish prayer?
Okay, let us consecrate everything that we have spoken about to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, that she is our Queen of Heaven, and may she, with her maternal love, bless us all and keep us from harm and show us the way that is His Son Jesus. Dios te salve
María, llena eres de gracia, el Señor es contigo, bendita eres entre todas las mujeres y bendito es el fruto de tu vientre Jesús. Santa María, Madre de Dios, ruega por nosotros pecadores, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén.
Amen. For more thought-provoking, soul-enriching content, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under @CatholicAmmo. Again, that's @CatholicAmmo. And be sure to check out more Fire Away at wcatradio.com/fireaway. This is your host, Carlos Bersabe. Until next Friday, or whatever day I can squeeze an episode in, keep mission focused and stay locked, loaded, and ready.
Failure is not an option.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.